The Champions League and Europa fixtures are done, and now we can look ahead to Game Week 13 with our team selection, as well as looking at our Game Week 13 fixtures in the FPL Green Line, and taking a peek at my transfer plans as I need to make a change or two. Welcome to my channel, this FPL Game Week, where I, your host Femi, aka FPL Big Fem, are with you every game week to help you get up the ranks, share strategies and tips, and just try and persist in this crazy game. If you like what you're seeing, please like and subscribe below. So here we are, Game Week 13, and a lot of people are looking at potentially using a chip this week, whether that be triple captain or free hit. And of course, Manchester City is the focus for both of those chips, with Haaland's fixture at home against Leeds, and Manchester City, looking at strong at home against Leeds, so you're going to load up on some other assets outside of Haaland. For me, I'm not going to use any chips. I'm confident in the team. It's been performing well, but more importantly, a lot of the free hit drafts I've been watching from other content creators, they include a lot of my players. So I'm hoping that, given my rank, just outside the top 1K, if they pick my players, they won't be able to necessarily catch up. So ultimately, I'm happy with the team. And it just comes back to something I said in the last video of being confident with your squad, playing your own game and figuring out who you need to really help and continue to rise the ranks. I will, of course, be making changes, a change at least, maybe two. But as we look into my team, let's see how they're well positioned. So in goal, we have Henderson. So Henderson is at home to Manchester United. Great fixture for Crystal Palace. Strong home and away. No concerns there. When we move forward into the defense, we have Ballard at home to Bournemouth. Ballard may not be staying in the starting 11. I may look at other defenders, and we'll take a look at that a little bit later in transfer plans. And then we have Collins at home against Burnley. Collins, hopefully he can get his headed goal against a Burnley side that, is near the competitive, but, not the most challenging side to face, I would say. And then we have Muñoz at home against Manchester United. Muñoz is like an easy, essential set and forget pick. Tons of upside with his attacking data and being able to get forward. And then in the midfield, we have Mbeumo and Manchester United, who have that tough game last week. We'll just stop mentioning it anymore. And so just in Mbeumo, until he goes to AFCON, he'll be in the team most likely. They have a good fixture run coming up. And he's just someone who, out of all the Manchester United assets, is probably one of their most dangerous player going forward. And then we have Rodgers at home against Wolves. Aston Villa is in good form now. They're going to be playing against a Wolves side, still bottom of the table and not showing many signs of life. So we do like Rodgers in this fixture. And then Saka away to Chelsea. Saka loves a big six game. For him, he's central to everything that Arsenal do. And, it was funny when I was watching a little bit of the Champions League game the other day, just seeing him. He at one point early in the first half, he was triple teamed. Like, there's so few people in the Arsenal squad that get marked like him. He's like the only player in the squad who can really create his own shot and, create his own chances for sure. So he's just essential in my team. And I really do think as the Arsenal assets come in around him, he's going to be able to return for our teams from an FPL perspective. And hopefully that will be proven true. Maybe not in this Chelsea fixture, but moving forward. And then we have Semenyo away to Sunderland. Semenyo is back training from all reports, and so I think he'll just be a solid hold. I may consider switching him out, but I do like him. I do want to see if he can, sort of get back to the form that he had displayed in the beginning of the season. And then finally, we have Szoboszlai away to West Ham. Liverpool is in a bad moment, but he did score in his last fixture in the Champions League, Szoboszlai, and ultimately, I think he's just a good hold for now, and we'll see if we have to get him out if Liverpool doesn't start to get goals. Generating a lot of XG, but they need to get goals, obviously, in the games for him to be and remain a pick. And then up front, we just have the two forwards that have been consistent in my squad for a few weeks now, and Thiago and at home against Burnley, and Haaland at home against Leeds. So no changes there up front. We'll go quickly through the bench. We have Leno away to Tottenham. That could be a defensive game, and Leno could do well there potentially, as Fulham would like to travel and keep things tight at the back. Truffert away to Sunderland, firmly rooted to the bench for this week, I believe. And then DCL as well in that category, away to Man City, of course. And then Gabriel, who will be the transfer out. And when we look at transfer plans, we'll see who I've gone and went for over there. Now for our FPL Green Line fixtures. And so in the FPL Green Line this week, there are 5 fixtures that are green. And we have Aston Villa at home against Wolves, Brentford at home against Burnley, Liverpool away to West Ham, Manchester City at home against Leeds, and Spurs at home against Fulham. We will, as always, start with our big 6 squads and look at their fixtures and see who we're going to be targeting and sort of how we think that the game will unfold. But first, again, an introduction to the FPL Green Line. Do you know if you go to the Fantasy Premier League website or app, click on Fixture Difficulty Rating, and double-click here, it will sort the fixtures by difficulty, giving you the most favorable fixtures in green, allowing you to organize your approach to the game week? I call this the FPL Green Line, and it'll be one of the ways I analyze my players' fixtures for the game week. So there you go, a cool and useful feature to organize your approach for the game week. How will you use the FPL Green Line this week? Okay, so for the big 6 fixtures, the obvious starting point is Manchester City at home to Leeds. A lot of people are thinking triple captain on Haaland. They're thinking free hitting and getting other Manchester City assets in. For me, I'm just going to rely on Haaland. Potentially, as you'll see in my transfer plans later, there's someone else from a Manchester City squad I may be considering. But this one should be an easy one to call. We expect City to win by multiples of goals and hopefully get a clean sheet as well. The next fixture to analyze is Liverpool away to West Ham. You know, Liverpool needs to find some balance in their squad. They need to find a result here. So in what could potentially be an open game, because West Ham games are typically open when you play them, they should be able to do something here, hopefully. I mean, a lot of us thought it the same last week against Nottingham Forest at home at Anfield, but ultimately, I only have one Liverpool asset in Szoboszlai in the squad. And so, you know, hopefully he can return like he did in the Champions League and we can sort of, you know, take those points and move on. And in the last fixture, we have Spurs at home to Fulham. This one's a little bit of a tougher one to call, I would say. I mean, I'm expecting a defensive matchup with Spurs, who are in a bad run of form right now, and Fulham, who, you know, got a win and a clean sheet in their last fixture. So, you know, I don't really have assets for any of these two teams. They're not up there in terms of being targeted for me. You know, a lot of people have Anderson because of the DEF CON. I have to move in another way because, you know, I think there's more upside with some other defenders that I'm looking at. And, you know, we'll see in our transfer plans about who those are. But ultimately, that's the big 6 fixtures. And predictions for the Spurs Fulham game, I think it could be anything from 0-0 to 1-1, to be honest. So we will see how that looks. Now let's move on to the rest of the fixtures. And there are 2 of them for this week in the FPL Green Line. So for the remaining FPL Green Line fixtures, we have Aston Villa at home to Wolves and Brentford at home to Burnley. Let's start with Aston Villa. So their assets in both teams, Aston Villa and Brentford, I'm not sure how their assets are going to perform this week. For those of us on free hit, they've been loading up on probably 3 of each to, you know, really give themselves a view of playing weaker teams and being at home. They can get huge returns. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case. So for Aston Villa, I'm only really looking at Rodgers, who's been in my squad for a few weeks now, and hopefully he can continue his performance, his standout performance from last week, and, you know, get me some FPL points. Of course, in defense, you know, you have Martinez and Cash that look good in this fixture, but with Aston Villa's fixtures upcoming, not too keen on, probably won't make the move, but I know why some people would go there, even not on the free hit, why you wouldn't take a punt to try and get some upside and some FPL points in a very favorable fixture, especially at home. And then for Brentford at home, I already have two assets in Collins and Thiago up front, so I'm feeling fairly well covered there. The idea is maybe you get a third asset in like a Sade in the midfield or a Dango, a Terra. Um, for me, I'm not necessarily thinking that route just because the midfield is strong, and I think there's better potential in the midfield that I already currently have. But again, it's another place where I don't think would be bad to go to if you want that boost, especially playing at home. Brentford's going to attack and try and find and exploit those opportunities to get those goals at home. So that's it for these fixtures and the rest in the FPL Green Line for Game Week 13. Now, I haven't talked too much about my general strategy in terms of transfers, but here it is as follows. I typically don't like to look more than 3 fixtures ahead for players who are going to come into my FPL team. I mean, of course, like all, I do look, down the line at what fixtures will turn green, but I don't like to miss out on the upside of the players in the short term. And there's just too many games to really make accurate predictions that in game week 6 weeks from now this player is going to do well in. So in my game week 12 review, we looked at 3 teams that did look good in the next 3 in Manchester City, Newcastle, and Nottingham Forest. Manchester City and Newcastle both have 2 of the next 3 at home, so their assets were the ones that stood out. And from that lens, I'm looking at potentially like a Ruben Diaz in defense, not O'Reilly, but Ruben Diaz, who didn't get the start in the Champions League fixture during midweek, and I think O'Reilly didn't as well. But ultimately, I like Diaz in the back line. And then also from a Newcastle perspective, thinking of maybe a Livramento. But after thinking on it a little bit more, I also am thinking of doing just a direct swap from Arsenal defender to Arsenal defender. And that defender is Ricardo Calafiori. So Ricardo Calafiori, he came on in the Champions League fixture. He had that beautiful assist to Madueke for his first Champions League goal. And I think he's a star. I really think we just need to realize this guy has it all. He has a great shot. He has the football IQ, and he's a great passer of the ball. And the thing that I like about him, similar to potentially Muñoz, and well, not potentially, we saw with Muñoz in the 14-pointer in game week 12, is he could go big if he gets a haul. He could get the bonus. He could get a goal. He can, obviously assist. And he's just such an X factor. He can pop up anywhere. And the thing as well with all of this context is you have to look at Arsenal and realize that Mikel Arteta isn't a defensive coach. He came through, Rangers, going back in his career and his playing days, and Alex McLeish, who's the manager there, defensive manager. He came through Everton with David Moyes, defensive manager, and he runs Arsenal like a defensive team. They're the best defense in the league. So we need to be, as an Arsenal fan, I've been watching them my entire life, and I know we are such a great team attacking, but we need to understand that our manager is a defensive manager, so he's going to treat those assets as such. Like, just look at how many defenders that Arsenal bought and what transfer fees they've paid. He loves his defenders. And Calafiori is definitely first choice, as Miles Lewis-Skelly came in for the Champions League game and started that game, so there's no issues with him starting against Chelsea in Calafiori. And so I think he may be the pick here. I think he's going to be one of the top scoring defenders in the league should he stay fit. And I just think the upside is just too much regardless of the fixtures. I mean, Arsenal's first in the league, and I don't think any fixture scares them, especially with the way that City and Liverpool have responded in the last couple weeks. So ultimately, Calafiori could be the pick there. And then we do also, so that's the defense covered. Maybe we'll do another transfer, do Calafiori and Diaz in if I can make the math work. I'm not sure yet. But we also have the transfer and looking at a Semenyo and if we should move him. And the most obvious answer is most likely not. Probably just going to keep and hold, see if he can do anything away to Sunderland and sort of reward my faith that I've had in him. But those are the transfer thoughts. Those are the plans as of now, obviously subject to change. But let me know what you're thinking. I want a big game week here because I do think people going on free hit could try and make up some points on me. And I do want to ideally get into the top 1K. No control over that, but it'd be nice to land there after a big week. So let me know your thoughts. Drop your comments below. And that's it for this video. So there you have it. My Game Week 13 team selection, as well as looking at the FPL Green Line fixtures in Game Week 13 and our transfer plans. If you like what you saw, please like and subscribe below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.